And you're muted here, Matt.
Hey everybody. Welcome to the Splinterlands Town Square. It is about 5 p.m. Eastern on October 16th, 2023. So with the Town Square format, I am going to spend a little time just giving a quick update, going through some things that are happening. There may or may not be some big events happening later this week. And then we're going to do mostly questions from the community. That's what the focus is going to be here. So I want to spend as much time on that as possible. So first and foremost, obviously the Rebellion presale begins this Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. So I guess that's roughly 45 hours from now in the Splinterlands shop. Obviously, there's a huge post with all the details that you can find on our blog, and there's a countdown page on the website that links to that blog post, so you can learn more. So I'm not going to go through all the details about that again. One of the things that was nice to see was all the demand coming into the DEC token in advance of the sale, and that's exactly what the DEC token is for, and that's what gives the DEC token value, which, and I've talked about a whole bunch of times, is, in my opinion, one of the really cool, innovative things that we're doing here is this product-backed stable type coin in DEC. So rather than having these type of burn mechanics or bond mechanics or other sort of things that a lot of projects use, DEC tokens are backed by the products that we sell. So in this case, Rebellion packs will be purchasable with dollars via credits or DEC tokens at a fixed rate of 1,000 DEC tokens per dollar. As we see, when there's demand for Splinterlands products and people want to purchase them, then if DEC is trading below 1,000 per dollar on external markets, then it makes sense for people to purchase them there, and then they get a discount on the packs. So it's exciting to me. I feel like I've talked about this for a long time, like waiting to kind of see all this stuff we've put into place start to really take effect, and it's starting to happen now, I feel. The one thing though I want to just caution everybody about, or make sure expectations are realistic, is we've talked about this whole like flywheel effect that I expect we'll see at some point, where once DEC gets above the par value, it'll be profitable for players to burn SPS tokens to mint more DEC. And that's something I know we've all been hoping for and looking forward to for a long time. But I think we're still a good ways off to really getting that to happen. I mean, it's not only does DEC need to get up to par value kind of sustainably on third-party markets, but it actually has to go beyond that, and there still has to be demand to purchase DEC even a little bit above that par value before burning SPS really becomes profitable. And if anyone's thinking like that's ridiculous, why would anyone purchase DEC above the par value? I mean, you can just look back to 2021 and early 2022 when DEC was trading far, far above that value. And the answer is just because if there are products or if there are things that you can only get with DEC, then you're not really thinking about what the par value is or any of that stuff or what it's accepted for in the game. It's just you need DEC to get these things, so you got to get DEC at whatever price it's available at, and that's when we'll really start to see these effects come into play. And on top of that, there's all of the assets in the Splinterlands ecosystem are really like intertwined together. So we've seen also recently, as the DEC prices started to increase, while people also are trying to get more DEC, there's been a whole bunch of card burning. So we have a huge excess of Chaos Legion cards and Chaos Legion reward cards. And so those are starting to get burned as an effective way to get DEC. And that actually increases the DEC circulating supply, and that's fine. I mean, that's what we need ultimately, is for those cards to get burned and for all that excess supply to get out of the system. But I think we're going to need all that to get out of the system, and we're going to need all these new features and products that are available only in DEC to start coming into play before we really start getting that whole thing to kick off. And that's a big part of where land comes in. So with With Rebellion, obviously you can use credits. So if DEC is too expensive, then most people would just use credits instead. But it's important to understand that behind the scenes, that's a service that the Splinterlands company provides. So if you use credits, then the Splinterlands company needs to have that DEC available to pay to the DAO in this case. But more importantly, things like land, and time crystals and purchasing grain, and also once the internal land market is out for grain and later other tokens, you're gonna need DEC and only DEC, not credits for all that stuff. So it'll get to a situation where hopefully players aren't really viewing DEC in dollar values. It's just I need 10,000 DEC in order to get the time crystals I need, or I need X DEC to pair with my grain in the internal market to earn the trading fees on that. And that will hopefully push DEC buying to past the 1,000 per dollar value. And that's where, again, the whole thing comes into effect, where SPS burning comes into play. So, obviously, I'm extremely excited, along with most of the community, to see how well the Rebellion announcement and upcoming pre-sale has been received, as we see reflected in market pricing. But my expectations that it's still going to take a bit of time before we actually eat through the card oversupply and hopefully get to some serious SPS burning, and where we start to see the effects transition from DEC over to the SPS token, which is the ultimate goal there. One other thing I also wanted to talk about, and a lot of people have been asking me about, is about, there was proposals recently that didn't end up getting passed about doing a card burning event. So back in May, for our 5-year anniversary, we did a DEC burning event where people could burn DEC and get all these different prizes. I thought that went over fantastically well, and that's something I'd like to do, more on an ongoing basis. And I think the recent proposals that suggested that the next one be via burning cards rather than DEC, and it's essentially, like I said, everything's connected. So cards can be burned for DEC. So if you burn cards, it's effectively like burning DEC a little bit of a different way. So it'll have the same effect and result. But that's what I would like to see happen. So I'm planning, early next year potentially, to do another event that will be a card burning event with a whole bunch of different prizes. The prizes are obviously still TBD, but there could be new promo cards, there could be Rebellion packs, Riftwatcher packs. There may be some proposals to the DAO to allocate some packs and other rewards, probably titles like we saw at the last event. And that the goal would be to really start eating through this oversupply of cards, and that plus the Land 1.5 release should hopefully really take out a lot of that excess card supply, which again can lead to excess DEC supply, and that will all go. It all works together to help this whole system kind of work correctly. And I'm sure, as you know, I've mentioned we've sort of learned our lessons from a lot of the mistakes that we did with the Chaos Legion set, and so I don't expect there to be anywhere close to this level of oversupply with Rebellion or any of the future pack series going forward, because we have the burn mechanism, the daily burn mechanism, to allow the market to choose how many packs get ultimately printed. And we're I've committed to not do any like big bulk sales or just like overly incentivize people to purchase lots and lots of extra packs at lower prices. So we're not gonna lower the prices from what was published in the post for the sale under any circumstances there. So anyway, that's the way I view everything. I'm super excited about the excitement I see from the community and the feedback we've gotten about the Rebellion sale. Land is still coming along very well, and I very much expect 1.5 to be released in the pretty near future. I don't have an exact date for that, but definitely well before the end of the year is the plan there. And I'm very encouraged by the market's response, but I do still expect it to be take a little while to as I said, go through all the oversupply that we've seen, and really kind of kick off this whole mechanism that we've put in place. So that's kind of my quick update here before we go to questions, but one other thing I wanted to talk about is that I've been talking to Clayboyne, who's been a long time community member and participant in the Splinterlands ecosystem since we unfortunately had to let him go as part of our recent layoffs. He kind of reached out to me and still wanted to help out and be a part of this ecosystem. And so one of the things we were thinking is the potential for the DAO actually to hire him, which, as we talked about it, I think is actually a really great idea. And I was planning to put up a proposal to the DAO to hire Clay, with the position of being sort of like just an overall like project manager and representative of the DAO. So just overall, it's really important that we have like a clear separation between the DAO as an organization and the Splinterlands company. And so I think it would be great for the DAO to have its own employees working for it that are outside of the Splinterlands company and that can represent the DAO's interests. Right now, obviously, it's generally in the best interest of the company. Things that are in the best interests of the company are typically in the best interest of the DAO. So we kind of help out with all of that stuff. But I think it would be much better, for the entire community to have someone, just in case there is any conflict of interest, that represents the DAO and would do things like, manage the implementation of any approved DAO proposals, to work with the Splinterlands team and say, hey, these proposals were approved. This is how it's supposed to work. Making sure the Splinterlands team implements them properly, making sure they're implemented in a timely manner, interfacing with the community, being a liaison between the community and the Splinterlands organization, to update the community on the status of things. Clay's also been working with Blockchain Founders Fund, who runs the DAO Foundation organization, on all the exchange listings and market maker deals. So he has a lot of experience with that. So he can still, the DAO could hire him also to do that, to work with exchanges, because the company needs to keep separate from all that. So we don't work on exchange listings or anything related to the SPS token. So Clay can manage all that and interface with the community. And there's a whole bunch of other things. I mean, he can be the one to handle the tournaments and other things that the DAO sponsors or does in the game. He can work on, getting partnerships, all that stuff, which is something that, as we've had to reduce our team size in the company, like we're not going to have as much time or resources to do. So, it was just something I wanted to bring up to the community that I plan to propose, and I think would be a great idea. I also wanted to bring Clay on here today, to talk about it, to give his opinion or thoughts on things, and then maybe he and I can answer some questions related to that from the community before we get into general questions. So, hey Clay, are you here?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you and I see eye to eye on a lot of these things. And one of the big reasons why, I also agree that somebody, even if it's not me, we do need somebody with the DAO that is representing us in a lot of these business negotiations, that is first and foremost like guided with the principle of protecting DAO, right? Like they preferably minimize any potential, conflicts of interest. I think it's just like the DAO needs somebody that is like loyal to the DAO first and foremost, and that's the operating procedure in a lot of these business interactions, I think.
Yeah, and it's been, I mean, the community doesn't see this, but behind the scenes, it's been difficult with all these type of things, because obviously Blockchain Founders Fund has stepped up to do this to help us out, and they're heavily invested in the company and the community. But this is not their main thing. They manage a whole large portfolio with all these different things, so they can't really do any like day-to-day management things, and that's what Clay has been doing anyway. And it's been this like weird situation where, he asks us or them, or they don't respond. And then, I say, well, we can't really get involved with that because that needs to be a separate thing. So it's been this like awkward type of situation. And I think it would be super beneficial for the DAO to have someone that is like the official representative paid for by the DAO, and can just make these decisions, interface with the community, and just make sure he's on top of everything that's going on.
Yeah, and I think that's it, right? Like most of like the main points, like we'll have to outline it in the proposal, but I mean things like running the social media accounts, helping manage the Discord server, like basically I'd pretty much keep doing most of the main things that I was doing. But I think the biggest one is just taking a very different approach to interacting with these other companies, like the market makers for one, and also operating with exchange negotiations. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about exchanges and they have a lot of expectations. I can tell you guys there's so little you can actually say when you're interacting with these, but I think one thing that I can guarantee is that going forward, I will try to operate with as much transparency as actually possible. Like, for instance, like I was talking to one market maker company that is actually 100% on board with full DAO transparency. Like, they don't mind disclosing market maker fees, they don't mind being paid by the DAO. Exchanges are a little bit more difficult, but I do think that we can get to a place where I can at least help, maybe if not like disclose contract details, at least give people an idea of what we're dealing with and what expectations are for what. So whenever they're saying things like, when Binance, when Coinbase, like they have somebody that can give some kind of idea of like what kind of budgeting we're even talking about to make things like this happen. Because I think most people just don't understand.
Yeah, and any organizations like that need a point of contact that they can work with. That's dealing with this as a high priority, which neither the Splinterlands company nor Blockchain's Founders Fund can be. So, yeah, that it's all part of why I was super excited when Clay kind of proposed this to me. I think it's just a great step forward, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Uh,
and look, like I understand, like people are going to be conflicted about this, so like I'm not going to take it personally, but like I would love to work for you guys, and I think the proposal will do well to outline exactly what I'm offering to do, and I think it's pretty comprehensive for things that we need as a community, and I think things that would help kind of like bridge that gap with Splinterlands.
yeah, definitely. So look out for that. Within the next few days. And I guess at this point, Ron, we can open it up for questions. You can post your questions in the town hall chat here, or you can even come and speak on the stage if you want. Just make sure, hopefully, your microphone and your connection are good. Uh, and yeah, we can get into all that.
Awesome, thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Clay. And if you just want to stick around in case there's any questions, related to the proposal and
Sure.
yourself, give
Yeah,
everyone
yeah,
here
that's
a
that's
second.
fine. I'm definitely down if anybody has questions for me. I can try to answer them.
Okay. Uh, First question from New Age Inv. Has any thought been given to expanding a time limit rather than a pack limit in case of an immediate 500K pack sellout? Also, will vouchers be needed in the SPS wallet or in-game wallet for the pre-sale purchase? So I'll start with the last part of that question. The vouchers need to be in the in-game wallet. So if you have them in the SPS chain wallet, you can just transfer them to in-game wallet, so they'll be ready to go. And it'll be auto-filled to use the max vouchers, and there'll be easy buttons and options to say like use the max vouchers. So we hopefully avoid any issues where people accidentally don't spend their vouchers. I did that myself. I think in the Rift Watchers sale, so that shouldn't be an issue. It should automatically, if you have the vouchers available in your in-game wallet, apply them. And it should have also like a confirmation message before you actually make the purchase. I thought a lot about increasing the pack limit. My one thing is like the numbers of the promo cards. I want to be very careful to keep those low. And I also really, really don't think that there's going to be a super fast sellout. I am hoping that all the packs do eventually sell out, but just based on my read of the community and everything, 500,000 packs is a lot. So I would ultimately I erred on the side of not not allowing more than 500,000 packs during the pre-sale under the assumption that it is not going to sell out super quickly and everyone that wants to will have their chance to get in. But that's so that's the situation to expect on Wednesday. So if you are interested in purchasing them and you are worried about a sellout, make sure you have everything ready and you're ready to go when that starts. And I think we've, I don't want to say for sure that nothing will go wrong, but we've done this enough now that and we have a really good team that is building this stuff to make it so that hopefully things don't crash and we can easily handle the volume of this sale as we have done in previous sales. So Rivals is asking, when Clay, do you write a proposal for it? Yeah, I'm actually the one who's going to be putting out a proposal to hire Clay. I just, I thought that would be better than him proposing for himself to be hired. And I also legitimately really think that's a good idea. So there will be a proposal with, a lot more details, responsibilities, qualifications, all that stuff coming out in the next few days. Question from Juice. Why should we burn the cards when we need them for land? The last half year, we hear that there are not enough cards for land. Yeah, no, I agree. I have been a large buyer of very cheap Chaos Legion max level reward cards on the market for a long time to use them on land. I still do not have enough cards for land. Not everyone wants the cards for land. So, some people would prefer to have to just get the DEC to buy Rebellion packs or just sell the DEC on the market or whatever. So, you ask me, I would say use them on land. But everybody's different. So that's part of what makes the world go round and the Splinter Lands go round. Question: does Force Field work against Armored Strike if the attacking monster's base damage is below 5 and armor 5 or more? Yes. So Armored Strike is going to be so for those who don't know, Armored Strike is one of the new abilities that's going to be introduced with the Rebellion set, where it gives the unit an additional melee attack using its armor stat. So it's going to be a separate attack. It's almost like it's this whole separate attack type. So if the force of the Armored Strike attack is 5 or more, it will be affected by Force Field just like the other attacks, but it only is based on the amount of armor, not based on the amount of melee or other attack that the unit has. And you could have Armored Strike on a unit that has no other attacks, so there could be a no attack unit with Armored Strike that gets to bash them with its shield or something, and it's still just the value of the armor determines whether or not Force Field will affect it. Question: beta, or better say wild collections dropping in value very, very much. Is it possible to add more wild tournaments from the modern prize pools, reduce modern a bit and make wild more attractive? So that is one of the things that if Clay is hired by the DAO, that he would talk with the community on, potentially help make proposals and design proposals and create the tournaments and get that stuff implemented. So that's ultimately up to the DAO to decide, and I'm very happy, to go with whatever the community wants on that. But ultimately, again, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. We've been talking about, Untamed and things dropping out of Modern for a long time, and that ultimately land is the solution to the issue of older card sets and maintaining their value. So, land 1.5 we expect out in the near future, and then after that we'll be working on land 2.0, which even gives much more value to the older cards. But you have to think a little bit longer term, which isn't always the it doesn't always happen with the community in Web3 products. So and Ron, I guess just jump in if we have people that want to do a voice question, and we can jump in and out of those.
Sure thing. There's nobody yet, but I'll let you know.
Thank you. Question from Lil Sob. About 9 months ago, Splinterland's YouTube channel released a video called Splinterfest Battles 2.0, showcasing revamped battle start, which was pretty cool. Is that still a thing in the near future? I don't know about the near future. Right now, my focus is on really getting through the next, 3 or so months, making sure we get Rebellion out and that goes well, making sure we get Land 1.5 out and that goes well. and working through all the company restructuring stuff and just getting us to a much better place going forward. But then after that, we're going to start looking at all the kind of outstanding things, which includes all sorts of stuff with new player experience and, Battles 2.0, boss fights, Land 2.0, all this stuff, and, figuring out the resources we have at that time and what we can do and when we can get to it, and prioritization. So right now, I don't have an answer about when anything, that's beyond Land and Rebellion, Land 1.5 and Rebellion, but it's still something we very much want to get to as soon as we can. This isn't prefaced with question, but I do want to. So I don't know if it's specifically a question for me, but I want to answer it. CryptoDad is asking, isn't the point of DAO to be decentralized? Why do we need a person for it? And that's a really good question. I feel like it's a fundamental misunderstanding of DAOs. And so to me, I really feel like DAOs should actually work in most cases like normal organizations. It's just that the shareholders, effectively, in this case, the token holders, are done in a decentralized way. So, having decentralized ownership and involvement, which includes being able to be involved anonymously, is extremely important. But it's also extremely inefficient. And that's why we see you can't have a situation where every single token holder is voting on every single little thing that happens. I mean, when you run an organization, and a DAO is just an organization, same as any company or other entity, there's little decisions that need to be made all the time, probably a whole bunch every day, just little things here and there. And for the most part, the Splinterlands team has been making most of those decisions on behalf of the DAO, and we've done our best, obviously, to have the DAO's best interests in mind when making all of those little decisions. But it just would be extremely untenable for us to have to every little thing to go and post a DAO proposal and discuss it and wait 2 weeks for have everyone vote on it. It's the same reason why governments, we don't have every little thing that happens. There's a general vote, right, of the entire population. You elect representatives. So I think ultimately, as DAOs mature, they will hire managers. They might even hire CEOs to run the organization on a day-to-day basis. And the token holders, it's still decentralized in the sense that the token holders ultimately control who they hire for what positions, whether they manage whether or not those people are doing a good job, they fire them essentially if they're not. But I think it's, that's the only way forward, is where the DAOs, the decentralized ownership community of DAOs, needs to pick people to represent the DAO and to manage the DAO on a day-to-day, minor decision basis. And I think we'll see more and more DAOs go that direction. It doesn't mean they're not decentralized. They are still decentralized, and that the ownership and the ultimate decision-making ability still lies in a decentralized, anonymous user base.
We have Aziricon requesting to speak.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let's get him in here, and I'll get back to the text questions after that.
I sure hope I pronounced your name right. Just make sure your mic is working good, and then we'll get this going.
Ron, can you hear me?
Sounds good. Go ahead and ask your question.
All right. Yeah. First of all, Pat, thank you so much, and all the rest of you, Ron, Clay. Oftentimes in the mass chat, we may or may not be very appreciative, but we love what you guys do. So we are very passionate about it. So,
thank you.
That's the first thing I was going to say, and I think overall the new direction, this Rebellion pack sale, and the post that you outline on how you are going to do the pack sale is very positive and is very time appropriate. So again, on that, kudos to you and the team for that. So that's most excellent.
Thank you again.
With that preamble, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm glad that you feel that way.
Yeah, no, this is really nice. I'm feeling very positive about it. So just a simple short question. If I remember, CL release properly, at some point in time, you are going to release post with all the abilities and the stats. I know it may not be happening right now, but do you have an idea when you are going to do that?
You mean all the stats and abilities for all the cards in the set?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to release all of them ahead of time, but we're definitely going to put them. We're going to like tease some out and start releasing them. Little bits and pieces on our blog
Yeah.
on the website, and then we're also planning to have them up on the Mav server like a week or two before the general sale starts in early December, so that the Mavs will be able to go in and see all the card stats. Provide feedback, so some of those may change based on the feedback from the Mavs, and then so they'll all be publicly released a little bit before the general sale.
Okay, thank you. There is another small little question, and I think this was raised a couple of times. Maybe you have already answered it also. For the pre-sale, the vouchers, do they need to be on the SPS chain, or it needs to be moved from SPS chain to in-game?
They need to be moved to in-game, so the vouchers need to be held in the in-game wallet in order to work with the pre-sale. And the reason for that is because we need to make these atomic transactions, meaning we're trying to separate SPS out. So for the SPS validators, we'll manage the SPS token, but things like DEC and credits are managed by our game chain, as we're calling it. So if you want to spend both DEC or credits and SPS or vouchers in one transaction, you can't do that across two different chains in an atomic way. Atomic meaning all at once, so it either succeeds or fails. So that's why we needed to set up this situation where you need to move your vouchers from what will be the SPS chain run by the SPS vouchers validators in the future to the in-game chain. So they're managed alongside credits and DEC, and they can be deducted in one atomic transaction together.